So if we look at homework 3 problem 3, once again, similar idea. We're writing a function file that modifies arrays. Our inputs are going to be m and a scalar c. C will be the size of our outputs this time, and c will always be less than the size of m. And here's a summary of our outputs. So S and I'm more interested in MTL, MTR, MBL, and MBR. Okay, they're phrased differently for this problem, so it's important that we understand what the outputs need to be for each function that we're writing. So it's a square. So MTL is a square array of size c by c, where the matrix is trimmed from the top and from the left. So I take off the top, I take off the left, which means I'm leaving the bottom right. Same idea for MBR. We're going to focus on those two again. So a square array where the matrix is trimmed from the bottom and the right. So trim off the bottom, trim off the right, leaving the top left. So MBR, given this example where m looks like this and c is equal to 4, this is MBR, and this is going to be, wrong one. This is going to be MTL. So once again, we're starting with an example, and we're going to go ahead and write the code for it and make it generic. Okay, so for this one, I don't really want to think about it in terms of what am I taking off. I really want to think about it in terms of what do I want MBR to be. So thinking back to modifying arrays, where do I want to store something? Is it the whole variable? Is it part of the variable? I want to store something in MBR. I want all of MBR this time. So MBR equals. Now I'm phrasing it in terms of what goes on the right-hand side. What do I want to store there? Is it a whole variable? Is it part of a variable? Which rows? Which columns? I want to store part of M. So M, which rows? In this instance, it would be 1, 2, 4. Which columns? 1 to 4. Making it generic, why did I choose 4? I chose 4 because C was 4. So MBR would be M, 1 to C, comma 1 to C. I chose 4 because C was 4. What if C was 2? It would be 1 to 2. Okay. Then we have MTL. Same idea. What do I want? Where do I want to store something? Is it the whole variable, part of the variable? I want all of MTL to be something. What do I want it to be? Part of M. So M, which rows? In this instance, it's these rows. So 2 all the way to the end. Which columns? I want it to be column 4 all the way to the end. I've already put in my end keyword because I don't want to waste my time writing 5 and 4. I just know I want it to be all the way in the corner, all the way to the end. Now I need to figure out why I chose 2, why I chose 4. Same idea, I chose 2 because I counted backwards. All the way to the end, counting backwards. So MTL is going to be M, really the end minus C, but the end minus C, so 5 minus 4 would give me 1. I don't want this one, I want 1 plus it. I want the one after. So end minus C plus 1 all the way to the end. Same idea with the columns. Starting at the end, counting backwards, so minus C plus 1 all the way to the end. Same idea. Start with an example. Why did I choose those numbers that I chose? Are they going to change? Are they not going to change? How can I calculate them? So for MBR, I've counted from the 1, 1 location, counted 4 this way, counted 4 that way. For MTL, I've started at the end location, counted this way, counted that way, subtracted, really. So if we go look at Matlab, the code might look something like this. So for this function, you had 6 outputs, modify array, it's modify array 2, but I already have a modify array from a previous video, and then M comma C. So S and I'm not interested in those. So MTL looks like this. End minus C plus 1 all the way to the end, end minus C plus 1 all the way to the end, and MBR, same thing, 1 to C, 1 to C. So you have your function, you need to go ahead and test your function, call your function. What is the name of the function? What do you want your inputs to be? Where do you want to store your outputs? I want my inputs to be A, some random matrix, so I've created a 5 by 7, essentially mimicking the example that I had on paper, and a 4. The name of my function is modify array. I send it A and N. Whatever is used for N is copied for M. Whatever is used for N is copied for C. I have 6 outputs, so I have 6 variables. So S is copied into A, I is copied into B, MTL is copied into C, MTR is copied into D, MBL is copied into E, MBR is copied into F. So just checking, the other ones are all 0, but MTL is this one. So verifying that, yep, it is the top 4x4 corner, or the bottom 4x4 corner, not the top one. And then MBR is F here. Is the top 4x4 corner. That's how we're going to approach functions that require us to modify arrays. And that's how we really approach modifying arrays in the future as well. Identifying, if we go back to our key points here, where do I want to change things? Where do I want to store something? Am I changing the whole variable? Am I changing part of it? Which rows, which columns? And then what do I want to put there? A whole variable, part of a variable, which rows, which columns? Logic check, do the two sides match, and the number of values, and in the orientation, same number of rows, same number of columns. When we write a function, we're really just taking the code that we would already write previously and just making it generic so it applies to any value that makes sense for our inputs. So identifying, what do I want my function to do? What information do I need in order to do that? What variables appear in my code here that tell me what I need to do in order to do those calculations? What is the final result? What do I want my outputs to be? Is it 1 output, 2 outputs, 3 outputs, whatever? Whenever we write a function, we need to go ahead and make sure that we are testing the function. So identifying, what function are you using? What are the inputs? What do you want those inputs to be? And where do you want to store your outputs?